In today's video, I'll be sharing with you 9 knitting related channels and knitting podcasts for you to add to your watch later playlist. Hello, and welcome to the Wool Needles Hands Midweek Ramble. My name is Taylor, and I will be your host. In today's video, I will be sharing with you 9 knitting podcasts / knitting related channels that you should definitely be adding to your watch later playlist. This is going to be broken up as 5 of my all-time favorite podcasts or knitting related channels, ones that I watch every time I see new uploads, and then I'm going to have 4 lesser known or new to me knitting related channels to share with you after that, ones that I'm definitely beginning to love and ones that I come back to when they upload new content. I'll be including links to all of these channels down below in the description box. I encourage you to create a playlist on YouTube of podcasts you would like to watch or podcasts that are new to you or something like that, a place where you can collect knitting podcasts or knitting related channels that you would like to watch more of. Sometimes we see them pop up and we forget about them and we try to go back and find them and it's really difficult. So what I would encourage you to do is to click on the links down below for any of the podcasts that I mentioned here that seem of interest to you. Click on them, add them to a watch later playlist, create a playlist for future viewing. That way you can always come back to them and watch them when you have time. We don't have time to binge podcasts as often as we would like. And so it's just a really great way to kind of create a space for those podcasts that you definitely intend on checking out so you don't forget what they are and you don't lose track of them. Okay, first on my list, and this is kind of like the OG podcaster in my opinion. I've been following her for a long time. So back when I first started knitting, and I want to say it was 2009, and that was when I discovered Kristen of what was at that time called the Yarn Well, no, I believe that she might have been, I can't remember if her blog was Vine at the time, or if it was Yarngasm. I am sure you're familiar with who I'm speaking of. But Kristen Lehrer, she had a blog. I can't remember if it was Vine or Yarngasm, but she had a blog and that's how I found her, was just her written blog. And I loved following the knitting that she was doing. She was just really inspiring. And she was just one of the first bloggers that I had found back when I first started blogging. So it was Kristen and then it was Leslie from A Friend to Knit With. Those were the 2 that I first really started following pretty solidly. And then Kristen started an audio podcast called Yarngasm. And then she started the video podcast called Yarngasm, which then was changed into Vine, which is her hand-dyed yarn company. And then now she just has a self-titled YouTube channel, Kristen Lehrer. And I know we're probably all familiar with Kristen's podcast, but she's kind of my OG podcast that I have been watching. I've been following her for so long because I think I'm pretty sure she and I are maybe a year apart in age. And I don't know why that matters. It doesn't matter. But I think that having like somebody who's like your contemporary, maybe that causes you to have more of an interest. But I love the stuff she does. She and I have a really similar kind of taste in projects. I love her taste in yarn. She's got kind of like an aesthetic vibe that is, I don't know, just really easy to watch. I love her style and she watches from time to time. So hi, Kristen, if you are watching, I love your podcast. Need I say more? I'm a member of her channel. So if you want to go support Kristen, definitely sign up to be a member. It's super cheap. It's monthly and you get to see some extra tidbits that she posts. But yeah, love Kristen, love Vine yarns. Her hand-dyed yarns are beautiful, but I always love her podcast. I watch every single episode when it comes out. So if you aren't familiar, if you've been living under a rock, then you need to check out Kristen Lehrer, who is the dyer of Vine yarns, but check out her podcast as well. They're fabulous. Okay, the next one that I've been watching for quite a while. I want to say she's been doing some kind of knitting podcast content for 5 years now, maybe, I don't know, maybe a little bit less than that, but that is Melody Hoffman of Mandarins. So she has the YouTube channel Mandarins and she started posting almost quarterly. I don't think she posts very often anymore, but the last few videos that she has posted, I want to say they've been quarterly and I love them. She is a knitwear designer and I don't want to say she always started out as a knitwear designer. I think early on, she was just doing knitting podcasts. And then she got into knitwear design and then she got into doing these like really lovely, cozy, cinematic vlogs. I want to say she's been doing them for about 2 years now, and I love them. So lovely to watch. She actually has one that just came out and I have not watched it yet, and I need to because I watch all of them. And I love them. So if you love having the occasional like knitting content that comes to you in a really cozy kind of cinematic, like earthy way with a lot of voiceover going on, super mellow and calming, this is a really, Melody Hoffman is fantastic for that. And so her channel is called Mandarines. She puts out such a lovely kind of knitting, knitwear design process vlog, and there's all sorts of other things sprinkled in there as well, but just very enjoyable. So that's another one, tried and true favorite of mine that I've been watching for a long time now. Highly recommend Mandarines. Okay, Emma Robinson, she is the dyer of Woolly Mammoth Fibers. She's a natural dyer based out of Northern Ireland, and she has a YouTube channel as well. And she posts pretty frequently. She has a knitting podcast, but she also does vlogging. And I just love watching her in general. Whatever she decides to put out, I just love watching. She's super laid back, really relaxing to watch. The home where she lives is so cozy. I want a wood burning stove just because of her podcast. It's beautiful. The aesthetic is fantastic. And she has this really cool, I want to say it's an Irish wolfhound. And I cannot remember the name of said Irish wolfhound. Just a moment, because I want to share that, because this pup is amazing. Giant dog, as Irish wolfhounds are. She has it in one of her recent Instagram posts. What's the dog's name? I want to say it's Rufus. I was going to say Barnabas. Rufus, the Irish wolfhound. Here's her dog. So cute. Ugh, so cute. But anyway, that's Emma Robinson. She's a natural dyer, and she does a lot of vlogging where she's doing dyeing. But she does a lot of these like walking vlogs where she takes you on these gorgeous walks around where she lives in Northern Ireland. I mean, we're talking like gorgeous, majestic cliffs, really old stone buildings, just really beautiful scenery. I love her channel. Super relaxing, super mellow. And then her knitting podcast is lovely because the things that she knits are just so nice. Like she does a lot of, she knits with a lot of her own yarn, of course, but she does a lot of knits with natural fibers. Actually, I think almost exclusively everything she uses is natural fibers, real rustic yarns, things like that. So her knits and her whole aesthetic is very rustic and calm, and the colors are subdued and just, it's easy on the eyes, it's easy on the ears. Yeah, love everything about that. So that's Emma Robinson. She's Woolly Mammoth Fibers, and she has a self-titled YouTube channel. Okay, another one that I love, and actually she's relatively new. I want to say she's been podcasting for a couple of years now. I catch her episodes every time that they come out. I don't always watch in one sitting, but I always make sure to watch. She's just a pleasing spirit, a lovely individual. Her episodes are calming. She has this way about her. There's something about her personality that she's just warm and inviting, and I think she's great. So that is Kat from the Heather and Hops YouTube channel. She does a lot of different kinds of videos too, not just podcasts, but she did one recently that I thought was really cool. And it was just I want to say what was the title of it? I can't remember, but the purpose of the video was to have her on screen knitting with her cat, and she wasn't talking. And in one of the versions of the video, there was some music playing, but there was another version where it was just quiet and it was just her knitting. Like you can hear what's going on in the background where she is, but she's not talking to you. And the purpose of the video was to provide you with kind of a soothing company almost that you can put on so you don't feel quite so isolated in whatever you're doing. It just provides you with some company that's quiet so you can focus on something maybe that you need to get done, but yet it's there. It was ingenious. So it's called Knit With Us, Knit for 30 Minutes with Audrey and Me. And she's just knitting for 30 minutes, providing you with some really soothing company that without a lot of distraction, so that if you have something you need to get done, it's a way of holding yourself accountable, giving yourself a solid 30 minutes to get whatever project you need done or to make progress on something with somebody that can be there as a way of keeping you company. It's kind of like when we put the TV on during the day just because we want something in the background to keep us, passive company. This is just a way of providing that. And I think it's so ingenious that she did that. So anyway, this is Kat, Heather and Hops. I love her YouTube channel. I think she's just a lovely individual, and I definitely recommend you check her out. All right, last on my list of my original favorites, podcasts I come back to every time they upload something new, is Kevin and Ray from the Needles at the Ready podcast. I discovered their podcast about a year ago, and I loved it from day one. And I remember binging a lot of the previous episodes because I think they started podcasting, I want to say 2020. I think they were like one of the pandemic podcasters, or new podcasts coming out of the pandemic. So I started binging a lot of the previous episodes and then just fell in love. And now every time they upload something new, I'm always there to watch. They do live videos occasionally. I never make the lives, but I'll go back and watch them after the fact. I just love these guys. Kevin, Ray, if you guys are watching, you are fantastic. I love watching you every time you put out something new. I know that if we were any closer in proximity, we would be fast, actual, in real life friends. You guys are just lovely. They host it's an unedited podcast. So it's like from start to finish, you're seeing everything. And I think that because these two are just such awesome individuals, they have such a great sense of humor. Their personalities are just great. I don't know, like energetic, like magnetic personalities, funny, and their banter back and forth. It makes that kind of an unedited and rather long podcast enjoyable to watch from start to finish. I don't watch every episode in one sitting just because when you have two little kids and not a lot of time, you don't have that kind of time to sit down and devote to that. However, I always come back and one piece at a time, I finish every episode because they make me smile. They're such lovely guys. And so that, if you're not familiar, again, if you've been living under a rock and you're not familiar with the Needles at the Ready podcast, you definitely need to check out Kevin and Ray. They are fantastic. They come from, I want to say they're in Stratford, Connecticut. And they are a married couple podcasting together. I know that they have purchased from Fiber for the People before in the past. They've talked about it on their channel. They've spoken about my channel and my yarn in the past on episodes before, and that always just warms my heart, makes my day. Just love these guys. I have nothing but amazing things to say about Kevin and Ray because they always make me smile. Watching their podcasts are an absolute treat. So definitely check out Needles at the Ready. And Kevin has a hand-dyed yarn company as well. And you can find all of that by going over to their YouTube channel. You can kind of learn all about what they have going on over there as well. But yeah, Needles at the Ready podcast with Kevin and Ray, one of my all-time favorites. Okay, what I want to do now is share with you some new to me and then some, I guess I'm categorizing this as like new to me / lesser known channels. These are ones that are worth keeping an eye on and watching because they're bringing a lot of really kind of inspiring content to the table that I really think you guys would enjoy. Okay, this first one is not new to me. I've known about Liz's podcast and YouTube channel for a while now. I want to say about a year and a half. However, she's kind of an underrated podcaster or lesser known, and I feel like she deserves a lot more folks watching what she's putting on her channel because she's got a great personality. Her video production quality is fantastic, and she's really kind of creative in how she presents content to her viewers, and that is Liz from the Poppy Library. I want to say Liz is based out of the Dallas, Texas area. If it's not Dallas, it's Austin. I want to say it's Dallas, and she's a poppy gardener. Liz, if you're watching, correct me if I'm wrong, but you grow poppies. That's why, that's kind of the inspiration for her YouTube channel, The Poppy Library. She's a beautiful knitter, and she has really lovely videos, a really cool vibe. Her cinematic, quality to some of the vlogs that she puts out there is exceptional. I love watching her. She has really great insight on the projects that she's working on as well. And actually, one of her recent videos, what was she doing in the video? Let's see, she had a video called Notes from a Knitter, and it's kind of like a vlog style video where she's sharing with you thoughts and notes from a knitter who goes through various different stages of knitting and things that come up. And I thought it was really well done, really, really well done, well produced, and funny and kind of cheeky. She has a really good sense of humor as well. She doesn't take herself too seriously as a knitter, which I feel like is one of my qualities as well, and a very good quality in my opinion. But she's a beautiful knitter and an honest knitter and podcaster, and I love her for that. So that is Liz from the Poppy Library. You need to head over and check her out. She needs more viewers because we need more Liz. All right, this next one is kind of hitting all of those calm aesthetic notes, the rustic vibe, real earthy and natural. She has this really fantastic appreciation for where she lives. She comes out of the Pacific Northwest in the Olympic area, kind of like the Olympic Forest area. And you can tell that she kind of carries that with her in her creative endeavors and her knitting and the way that she films her podcast. It's beautiful. And that is Ducky of Wool and the Forest. So she's a relatively new podcaster, but she's very new to me. I think I've only completed 3/4 of one whole episode and then like little bits of other episodes. And I keep clicking on other little things like consuming more of her content because it's just so pleasing. So she's really, a lot of the things that she knits are very rustic. The color choices are lovely. I feel like she chooses really nice earthy colors. So I'm really excited to watch more of her podcast and of her YouTube channel in general. So that is Ducky of Wool and the Forest. Okay, another new podcaster to me, and this is, I actually heard about this person from watching Needles at the Ready, and that is the Slip Slip Ginge podcast with Jack. So Jack is a university student living in the UK. He's a musician, and his mom is also a podcaster as well, and I didn't realize that until I watched one of his most recent episodes of his podcast, and she is back to Blighty, and so kind of like, a little bonus. Back to Blighty is another one you should check out. She is charming. I love what I've seen so far. I've watched very few little tidbits after I discovered Slip Slip Ginge. But yeah, two. So you get two for the price of one there. But Jack is such a pleasant person to watch. He's got a great sense of humor. I love the projects that he works on. He's a male knitter, and so he has a different perspective. It's kind of like when I watch Kevin and Ray. You get a different perspective on knitwear, on the process in general, coming from male knitters. And so I feel like Jack, I have a similar experience, and I feel like when I sit down and watch, I'm watching for the knitting content, but I feel like I'm staying, or I came for the knitting content, but I stay for Jack. I don't know. I think that's kind of like Needles at the Ready as well. It's like I came because it's a knitting podcast, but I stay and I keep coming back because of Kevin and Ray. And maybe that's the key to like what causes me to watch podcasts, is that I come because it's a knitting podcast, but I keep coming back and I stay because of the person podcasting, so that it gets to a point where it's like they could be talking about like, I don't know, banana bread recipe, and I would still watch that kind of a thing. I love banana bread, so of course I would watch that. But you know what I mean? It's like you come for the knitting and you stay for the person. That's like, I guess, the best way to categorize what it is about a knitting podcast that keeps me coming back. And in the case of Slip Slip Ginge, that's that. He just started doing a Vlogmas series, and I'm just catching up on that. I haven't watched much of it yet, but from the looks of things, I know I'm going to enjoy it, and I'm actually looking really forward in the next couple of days getting cozy with some of the Vlogmases that I've been kind of waiting to watch. I'm a little late to the Vlogmas party in terms of viewing, but his is one of them that I definitely want to check out. So that is Jack from Slip Slip Ginge. Okay, this next one I discovered yesterday, and sometimes I'll put a knitting podcast on when I'm driving, and before you freak out, I do the audio version. So it's plugged in, my phone is like away, but I can hear the audio of the podcast in my car. I'm not watching knitting podcasts while I'm driving. But this one I put on to listen to while I was doing errands yesterday, and that is Sarah from the Black Sheep Knitter podcast. She only has one podcast episode out, you guys, and she's great. She has such a cool personality. She comes to her knitting with a lot of, actually, I think what I'm trying to say is that she doesn't take herself too seriously as a knitter, and that I don't mean that to sound like a jab. I mean that as a compliment, because I think when we get involved in a craft, whether we've been doing it for a year or 10 years, I think it's always important to step away and to say, like, even though I've been doing this for a long time, like, I'm not going to go get so serious with it or take myself so seriously that I can't, laugh at mistakes or just kind of roll with the punches of the process. And I just get this vibe from her that that's what she's like. She's easygoing, a really genuine person. I love her personality and sense of humor and the way that she talks about her knitting, especially when it doesn't go to plan. She is just a warm and inviting soul, and I'm so happy I found her podcast. I actually left a comment on her episode kind of expressing that, and I guess she watches my podcast, which I love, and so that made my day. So Sarah, if you're watching this one, hello, and I love what you're doing. Please keep them coming. You're just a lovely person, and I'm looking forward to seeing more from you. So if you're not familiar with the Black Sheep Knitter or Sarah, which is her name, definitely head over to her channel, check out her videos, give her a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe because she's fantastic. I am not a big knitting podcast viewer. I don't consume voraciously, and I think that's because I've created a real small kind of group of podcasts that I watch over and over and over again. And I think sometimes when you get comfortable with your set podcast, it's hard to branch out. And a lot of times having somebody else share with you their favorites is a really great way to give you that push or that nudge to branch out and find other folks that will quickly become, your favorites and your go-tos. And so I'm really hoping that this did that for you. Definitely check out these podcasts and podcasters. Share your suggestions down below in the comments. And like I said, create a playlist for future viewing, for podcasts that you intend to watch later. Because I know it's hard to watch all of these when somebody mentions them, but if you click on the link that I provide in the description box and then add that video to a playlist, it just makes it easier to come back to it later on. So definitely do that. Give these podcasters and their channels some love. It is a real niche community that we are a part of. So spreading the word and giving love where love is due is really important. I appreciate you so much. I've enjoyed sharing these podcasts and podcasters with you guys today. I hope you have a lovely rest of your week. I will see you for episode 67 of the podcast on Sunday. Until then, happy knitting, happy making, happy whatever it is that you're doing. Take care, be well, and I will see you soon. Bye.